Yeah! Welcome back to Full Throttle Moto, baby. I'm your co-host, DJ, along with the boss. She is back in the house. Kayla Yakov, how's it going, home girl?
It is going good. How are things?
Dude, everything is going great, man. I'm so happy to be back. I've missed you. I've missed talking motorcycles. It's been a while. I've been kind of like I've been in that starter's position, leaned over, ready to hit that 100 sprint. I'm just waiting for you to fire the gun. So we good to go.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough the last few weeks, especially with my school, and then on top of that, obviously training and stuff like that. But that if that we see with that intro, if that wheelie came on yesterday, would have been Wheelie Wednesday. But yeah, we're a day late to that one. But
A day late, but not a dollar short. Looking at your sponsorships. So tell us about our special guest today. This is going to be our second interview because we interviewed Melissa. So this is right. So
yep.
this will be our second interview together. So tell us about our guest today. I'm really excited to meet this gentleman.
Yeah, a little short notice, but it is one
Yeah.
of our Junior Cup competitors for, I believe, still Junior Cup competitors for the 2023 season. I've raced alongside him for about 2 years now, and he actually came in one round before me into the MotoAmerica's Championship Series. Has had some pretty good rides, and is one of the people that actually helped me get a bit faster last off season. So without further ado, it is Owen Williams.
Yeah. Party people, put those hands together for Owen Williams.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It is a pleasure to meet you, sir. I've been waiting to meet some of Kayla's homies, see what's going on, try to understand what it is that makes you guys able to do the things you do. I still don't understand it because I go to the track and damn it, I can't do it. So, Owen, pleasure to meet you, man.
You too, man.
Man. So, listen, brother, if you would, for the audience, please tell us, where you're at now. This is obviously not your first year in Junior Cup, right? This is your second year. Is that correct? First year?
Yeah, so last year was my second year in the Junior Cup Series. And
right.
Yeah, so I started in my first year at MotoAmerica, which is the third round out of, I think, 7? Yeah. Or no. I forget exactly how many rounds there are. But joined a little bit midway through. So not quite 2 full seasons, but pretty much 2 seasons. Yeah.
What attracted you to do? Have you tried other sports? What is it that attracted to you? That made you say, "This is me. This is me."
Yeah, so I mean, my dad loves to mechanic on motorcycles. He's the one who got me into all of this. And I started out on mini bikes. I started on a CRF 50. And compared to I've heard from the story of a lot of other racers my age, they started out on dirt and then kind of came to road racing. But my story is I actually started out on road racing. The first track I rode at was Willow Springs here in California. And we kind of went from road racing to flat track and then from speedway. And there was a short period where I did actually all 3 sports. So I did road racing, flat track, speedway, and then it kind of just became too expensive. So we were like, Dad's like, gotta choose one, man. Or gotta choose 2, really. But road racing has definitely become the priority just because of kind of the connections we have and the sponsors and things like that. It's just become the priority, yeah.
But have you messed around with other sports as well in your growing up?
Oh, you mean other than racing?
Sure.
Yeah, no, actually, I mean, as a little kid, I think everyone's kind of like parents maybe put them into a sport or 2, but it's always been racing. It's ever since because I started when I was about 7 years old. I got my CR50 for my 7th birthday, and ever since then, it's been racing.
Kayla, is that a feeling that when you've tried a couple of sports, I assume at least?
I was actually never put into any other extracurricular sports, I guess, in school or anything, but I always played sports. Like, that was a lot of what I did after school. Like, not really competitively, I guess you could say, like with with a team, but yeah. And it's actually pretty funny, like his story kind of coming up is quite a bit similar to mine, but I started in motocross, flat track, then road racing. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know what else is kind of cool is that this sport has brought two people, because like in other sports, let's say you do an invitational or you do a tournament, you might compete against another person, young person, but you don't see them again, maybe until next season. But in this case, it's brought, like, I assume you're from SoCal based on your phone number, Owen, because I've moved here from SoCal to Florida, so that's how I recognize that. And
Yeah.
and it brings you and someone. Am I correct? Yeah. What
Yeah.
town are you from?
So I was born in Orange County, but my mom lives in Long Beach and my dad lives in Lake Forest, a little down south.
Lake
So
yeah,
yeah,
right near
SoCal.
where I was. Yeah, I was in Laguna Niguel before I moved here,
Nice.
and Irvine. I lived in both of those. But anyway, so this kind of has brought someone from. Would you consider it rural Pennsylvania where you live, Kayla, or not rural?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of like the first 3.5, 4 years of my life, I was in Maryland, and then I would say 3.5, and then we moved here when I was 4 into it's rural Pennsylvania, I should say.
It's rural.
I mean, we have Amish, so I guess you can definitely count that as quite a bit rural. So
yeah, they're not in the cities too much, but no, but this sport has brought a young lady from rural Pennsylvania and a California kid, together as friends, and that must be. I've asked Kale about this before, but you guys meet a very interesting cross section of people at the track that you're become your family, right?
Yeah, I mean, you meet people from all over the country in this sport, and I love people from all over the country. It's like, at first I was like, with all the traveling, I'm like imagining like the stereotypes, you know what I mean? Oh, we're going to Alabama to race. Like all my friends here in California are like, what, you've been to Alabama? But it's like everywhere it's the same, you know what I mean? You meet great people in this sport all across the country, and it's something I've been really appreciative of.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing, is to travel and meet people, and you find out that you have more in common than there are differences, and actually you can celebrate what is different. That's kind of how I approach it when I meet people who are diverse from myself, from another region or another country. Kayla, I gotta let you have at it. So, do you have a question for Owen? Because you know me, man, I can just keep going.
Yeah. Before I say that, if my dad comes in tonight, I might mute it for a second and tell him I'm on the podcast, because I forgot to do that before I got on here. But yeah. Like I said, I raced with Owen and Chuck Walla, and I will actually back out there, and hopefully in February, late February, for maybe some CVMA racing. But how do you think that racing, especially in Chuck Walla or with Pridmore or with people that are really coaching you in that corner, having that track time constantly in the off season, how has that really helped you?
It's really beneficial, because the biggest thing about Chuck Walla that's different from any other tracks, because there are tracks that you can go to other than here at Chuck Walla, like for example Jennings or something like that, where it's not completely snowed out. But
Jennings, that's my local track.
Hell yeah. Sorry, I can't cuss.
Yeah, you're all right.
I'm good. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Chuck Walla training. So it was really beneficial, especially in my formative year on the 400. Like the year before, like the off season before, and the one before that, before I came on to MotoAmerica, I had never ridden a big bike really before, other than like a Milwaukee 250. So there was a big learning curve with that, right, with the bigger chassis bike and everything. And Pridmore and Gilbert had helped me a ton that season, and that was, I think, what got me up to, like, I would say is like the level, or at least the bar, you know what I mean? Like to be able to get finishes that are at least around top 10, which was my original goal just going into my first season. So it was like, I was a super appreciative of, especially Pridmore, because at the Moto America rounds, he would let me, because he's a commentator, he would let me come up into the commentating booth, and we'd talk about the races that they weren't currently commentating. I would say, I don't want to be there, while he's talking and everything. But yeah, all of that information and all of that really set the groundwork for me to kind of take it from there. In my most recent year, I didn't get as much help, especially because of just it got kind of busier and stuff like that. But I had been talking to other people and stuff like that. So the training, especially out here in Chuck Walla, it's just the competition. Like I love the racers out here at Chuckwalla, especially in the ultra lightweight class. Like even at any point in time, there's always a battle going on. You know what I mean? And the super sport classes here on the 600 are a ton of fun. I've been doing them recently. I just started racing the 600 out here, and it's been great, man. Like there's so many riders, which can get it can get kind of sketchy sometimes in the mid pack of those guys. Fun fact, they actually call it the meat grinder class, the 600 super sport race, just because of how many, not expert, but like semi-amateur racers there are in that class. Just got a 600, just passed the little rider's test. Now time to go race at Chuckwalla, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I love it. I love it out here. It's been really beneficial to my racing, and yeah, it's been great.
I got something up. So we have somebody in the chat, Chris. Okay, so Chris Hollingsworth, how are you, sir? A question for Kayla. Let me put this up on the screen. Okay, Kayla, does training on the lightning fast R6 give you more confidence on the R7? Chris, do you work for Yamaha by chance? Yamaha USA. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kayla.
Yeah. The R6. I mean, I will say that I feel like I said it last time is how different the motorcycles are. So it's really difficult to kind of jump from one to the other. But I will say that it's great for training. Although it's only a little bit heavier, the 600 is only 30 pounds, 45 pounds heavier than the R7. It feels heavier because of the engine. So you're really having to muscle the thing around, especially when you're doing longer runs and things like that. So it's definitely really good strength training, and you always have really good competition on a 600 because a lot of people are really fast on them.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a good bit of training.
So Owen, this is the same question for you. So basically, he wants to know. Let me put that back up there so you can read it.
Mm-hmm.
Just training.
Yeah, so Owen's on the ZX6, and yeah, he's on the ZX6, and then he goes to the 400. You ride the 400 too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's two Kawasaki's. I mean, yeah. So the thing about the 600 that's made it a lot interesting is that with the 400, I've been finding like it's not a plateau as of recently, but it's become a lot more of my focus, at least out on CVMA, to focus on the 600 because the strategies change, right? So it's like not only do you get the fact that the bike's heavier itself, and so there's certain sections on the track where you need to flick back and forth, right? So that becomes a little more of a challenge. You have to take it a different way, but also just the general line of a lot of the corners because Chuckwalla is a very flowy track. There's not a lot of hard braking. So it's interesting. I feel like the 600 is close to like the perfect speed. Like the speed differences between like the 1000 and the 600 are not as much as you might think here at Chuckwalla because of the 600 is that balance between nimbleness and power. So there's a lot of corners that are double apexes where I have to take slightly differently on the 600 than I could the 400. The 400 I can just lean it and gas it full, but on the 600 you can't quite do that because sometimes it will, rear might come around on you a bit. So it's really it's completely changed the track for me, honestly. Like I still know the corners and everything, but my previous optimal lines just aren't optimal anymore on the 600. So it's been fun to talk to a lot of the other people in the garage because previously when I was on the 400, it was a little harder for like Pridmore or someone to give me tips because they don't race ultra lightweight bikes. They all ride 600s. So a few of them on thousands, but my point is that I have a lot of knowledge around me that I wasn't able to really use before on the 400 because it all applied to the 600, but now I do. So it's been a lot of fun racing the 600 and it's taught me a lot.
What's interesting about that is and one of the things that's cool about our podcast is that you have an expert up there in your upper right-hand corner of your screen, and then you have a layperson. And I wouldn't have known that, I wouldn't have thought that Pridmore couldn't give you advice about you riding a 400 because he rides a 600. There's no way I would have known that. And that's the value of bringing you guys on. It's very illuminating and edifying. I want to just say to the people that are watching on Facebook, I see you, and Twitter, whomever is watching, if you go to YouTube and you sign in with your Gmail, you'll be able to join us in the chat, and that way you can ask Owen and Kayla questions live. So it's Full Throttle Moto 31 with Kayla on YouTube is the channel. And if you were to just sign in there, it needs to know who you are before it's going to let you comment. And then you can do as Chris did, and you can go ahead and ask questions. Kayla, so wow, dude, that's interesting. I was going to ask you, I'd like to ask both of you this question. I'm going to start with Kayla and then come back to you, Owen. When you're riding behind somebody, a great rider, and I'm not going to quantify that because it could be one of your competitors, it could be a Jason Pridmore, it could be Greg White. Hey, Greg, we want to get you on the show. And then, but I know him and Kayla are going to just, but when you're riding behind
my chair just collapsed. Give me a second.
Is that your dog?
My chair just collapsed. No, my chair just collapsed.
That was very graceful, Kayla. I would have high-sided right there if my chair would have collapsed. See, you only get this on live shows, guys. Is there something when you're riding behind a great rider that you see that you go, wow? Like, what is it that you've seen a rider do physically on the bike that makes you go, wow? Starting with you, Kayla.
I think for me, I mean, I guess I could say moments where I've really felt that because, I mean, obviously when I'm starting out, when you're club racing and you kind of get to a level at some point where you're one of the faster club racers before you move up into MotoAmerica. So it's kind of hard to find someone in an average club race to really have a reference of. So when I first started racing professionally, and actually my first race professionally was in Europe for the R3 Blue Crew European Cup. That was an eye-opening experience because you're riding with kids that this year have won World Supersport 300 races and things like that. So you're really riding with people that understand how to ride that bike at its limit. So it was a really eye-opening thing. And obviously then moving into MotoAmerica, seeing how the 400s needed to be ridden. And someone like Ben Galati, for instance, in the 2021 season, it was really cool to have that reference and be able to go out and practice or qualifying and just see how he's riding it differently than I am. And a big thing is having TV coverage is you're able to kind of study that. So it's a really useful tool. But more recently, it's really been, especially on the 600, when I went out to Buttonwillow for that, the Dunlop Q5 test, it was my second time on an R6. It was actually a stock R6. And Hayes it was his first time riding after he got hurt at Barber. And, I'm just going out doing laps, doing things for the press, and I see Hayes blow by me, and I'm just watching how he's riding. And it was just crazy because, especially coming off of a 400 and then going onto an R6, completely different motorcycles that you have to ride them completely differently. And your mind as a racer wants to stick with the thing you're used to. So at first I'm riding it like a 400, carrying it all the way to the edge of the track, out of the corners, closing off my entries, not really riding it like a 600 should be ridden. And it was just watching him was a really big thing. Obviously having him coach me quite a bit has been a huge thing. And at the end of the day, I got to share the track with Jake Gagne and Cam Peterson. And that was really cool. And to not only see Cam Peterson blow by me like I was standing still on the straightaway, but also, to see Gagne and how he was riding the bike and opening up his corners. And that was really important to how I started to ride the 600.
That is exactly the answer. I shouldn't say the answer I was looking for, but that was where I was hoping you would go with it, because you applied it to a competitor and a great, one of the legends. And with Jake Gagne, just to give you guys something, when Cam Peterson, I believe, was on with Carruthers and Bice, and it was interesting to have him describe how differently he rides the R1 from how Jake rides it. that Jake really is relying on, rear wheel, more so than how Cam rides it. He rides it complete. And that was very, very interesting for somebody like me. Owen, so that's sort of my question for you, the same as what I asked Kayla. Is there a competitor or a legend or someone you've ridden behind and said, wow, I look at how he or she does that?
Well, this one was less of a conscious thing. It was more just like they kind of just dragged me along with them, but I also learned a lot from it. Just an example of this kind of situation is I have been racing my 400 at Chuckwalla for like multiple years now. Like I think more than 3 seasons basically. So you know what I mean? I've gotten, I would say, pretty good at the ultra lightweight class of going both directions, because every round they flip directions there at Chuckwalla. And I had never been able to break the 54s, right? The 1 minute 54 time was like the time that I hit my PR. I was at like a 154.6 or something like that. And I was never able to get any real lower than that, because it still gets really chilly out here. Like it's not, it's a desert, but it gets really cold sometimes. And yeah, so it was Kayla. I got my 53.8 time, I think it was. It was something like that. And it was Kayla's second time there at the track. Like she had gone one way and then she went the other way, which is now, this is brand new. That direction was brand new for her. And just by following her in one of the races, I got down to a 53. Keep in mind too, she beat me, I think 2 or 3 out of like 5 of those races we did. But the detail is that I was on my club bike, which is much more unrestricted, and she was racing her MotoAmerica bike, training on that to prepare for the next MotoAmerica season. And in the colder temperatures, when like the traction got not as well, it really excelled there. So that was one of my examples. I've been able to get down to 53 since then, but that was in like perfect conditions. And I just learned a lot from racing behind her, because she made me realize almost how comfortable I had gotten on the bike. Like I wasn't riding to the limit, and it was something that I noticed that I needed to change right then. And it was something that I tried my best to change. It was it was like she said, it was eye-opening, but it also just taught me a lot about myself, and that like when you ride just one track, you get kind of comfortable at it, and you have to do things to challenge yourself. Otherwise, you just kind of go into the same kind of repetitive cycle, right? And I honestly haven't had a lot of opportunities to ride with other, like you said, greats before. But, I've ridden with Pridmore a couple times. I know we're going to go to Buttonwillow soon, and I'm going to be able to ride with him again. One of the other really good experiences I had wasn't actually on a road race bike, but it was when I went over to Melissa and Josh's house and I did some dirt bike riding over there. That was a ton of fun, even though I was, only there for like a day or so. Just doing that kind of training, it reminded me a lot of American Super Camp, which was something that I did a while ago, like before I was even on the 400. But the kind of riding it was very at the limit, and it was fun to ride with all those guys. Cam was there, I think Gagne was there. It was like, it was a ton of fun, and that was another experience that really got me a lot more comfortable with the limits of a bike. You know what I mean? Just messing around in the dirt and just like sliding out, going into a corner, doing mock races and stuff like that. It was a really fun experience. So that's something that I would definitely list off as a really great experience where I learned a lot.
That's awesome, man. Wow, how about that, Kayla? He lists you as one of the people he learned a lot riding behind. That must make you feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at the Chuckwalla last year, and I think that was a really, really big step in my riding, because that was actually the first time that I had ridden any bike since December, obviously, when my brother passed away. So it was my first time getting back into racing after it all, and you kind of get nervous because obviously it was only about a month and a half, off the bike, but you get nervous to think, do I still have what it takes to go out there and push as hard as I did, and to feel better on the bike and feel like I had a better understanding of what the 400 needed was amazing. And to think that at the end of the season, I still look back at my first 3 races and I'm like, okay, I'm making these mistakes, and to see how far I've come from that, it's really cool to see a progression. And that's something that, I saw in Owen a lot too, is because when I was able to push with him, and I'll say push with him because he was still riding hard. He's not going out there on a faster bike and just riding around. He's riding hard. And having him push me and seeing him throughout the year progress as well, I mean, it was really cool. And I obviously the progression is something that we all want to keep doing. So that's why when a lot of people ask me why I ride so much, I say, well, this is my progression and this is how I've done it. And yeah.
I love it. And at the risk of sounding like a complete old guy, you two guys are so well spoken that MotoAmerica must be licking their chops for the next generation of commentators after you guys have both won championships here and in Europe. And then you're like, okay, I've had enough. I'm ready to hang them up. Man, I can see you guys in the commentary booth together. Well, totally, right?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys are just so well-spoken, man. It's amazing. So we have a question from one of your fans here, B. Salinas. Hello. What is the worst environment you've raced in? So if you take that first, Owen, and then we'll go with Kayla.
I'm going to have to say, mainly because it was my first time ever in a rainy condition, it has to be, hands down, Barber. Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started, man. I had some bad luck with my first event in the rain. I remember it clearly. It was, I think it was Q2. Yeah, or was it Q1?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it was Q2 because you had to get the bike ready.
Did you go down that too? I don't even remember.
I didn't go down that weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was one of the only ones that stayed up all weekend.
Yeah. I think it only lasted. They only let us go out for a couple minutes. It's pouring rain, right? So what happened is
horrible
conditions. In Q1, it slightly rained, and a bunch of people wussed out and just didn't go out, right? So because they were just like, I'll just wait for Q2. I'll just get a better chance. And so since it was sprinkling in Q1, a bunch of people missed out. Everyone is out there for Q2. No one wants to miss it, right? I just went out for both because I needed the rain experience. It was my first time ever in a wet condition, and oh my God, it just started getting worse and worse and worse. It was already pouring, and then it just kept getting worse to the point where you're literally just out there just doing the laps, just trying to do it. And there's a specific corner at Barber where, yeah, you literally you go by the straightaway. It's it's okay. It's just wet one lap, and then the next straightaway, next time I came around that lap, it is a pool. It is a swimming pool that's filled with water, not a puddle. It is a pool. And the corner I went down in that time, and after this crash for the rest of the weekend, my confidence was killed. I was just kind of out there just putting around, which is not a good end to a season. I wasn't happy with it, but it was my first time in the rain. The corner that I crashed in was basically go down over the corner with the jump, and then you go around a corner, and there's a straightaway and a little uphill kind of two corners, and then another straightaway, right? So it's flat, but they're tiered. There's an uphill section right there, just a slight one. So I'm riding down straightaway. I'm about to go through the uphill section, and it's fine, right? I see a bunch of running water. It's pouring, you know what I mean? And you can barely see anything. But I was holding a lean angle, I'm barely leaned over. I'm holding a lean angle through the corner, and the lean angle was fine. My tires were allowing it because I wasn't hitting any standing water. But as soon as I'm barely leaned over, as soon as I'm going at that speed and I hit that Olympic-sized swimming pool of water, my front wheel completely hydroplanes, and I'm just slammed onto the ground. It was just it was so fast. Honestly, that was probably the scariest crash I've ever had too, just because it shook me so much afterwards. And yeah, it's not one that I'm proud of. Those conditions were torrential rain. I love that word because it describes it perfectly.
It was like a hurricane. Yeah. It was bad.
I have Kayla's name on the social media as Fish because every single rain race she seems to do her best because it was second place that weekend on Sunday on that Barber, right? It was your first podium, I think. And then
Saturday second, and then fourth on Sunday after we changed the thing.
Sure.
I just want to ask you guys this: was it Gagne or Skoltz that they went down and they slid for so long? I was able to get up, take French fries out of the oven, and he was still sliding. Was that Skoltz?
And the craziest thing was he was holding onto the clutch as he was sliding. so
Yes.
that the bike would stay on, risking losing a finger, to be fair.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah. So I think for me, I have a couple different things in this category. You have worst environment and worst conditions. Worst conditions is definitely I would have to say is Barber. I mean, it was just it was bad. I had actually only seen Barber worse one other time than that in the rain. And that time it was I don't know if you'll believe this, Owen, but it was worse. And I was on this NSF 250, and literally we go into Charlotte's Web, and you're in 4 inches of standing water. So it was bad. But I will say for a Moto America weekend that was very bad, because I remember in the beginning of race 2 I got off to a really good start. I was in second, and I come through the chicane, which is what Owen was talking about, and I'm right behind Tyler Scott. I'm sitting in his draft, and my front wheel, we hit this puddle of standing water, just goes, and I'm like, oh, I just took the front going completely straight up and down. But the thing about Owen's crash is, just from me having track knowledge, I knew where the puddles would sit most of the time, and there was always one puddle that would sit right on the exit of the second part of the chicane, and a lot of people would freaking cross over it and crash, and it was bad, and also the paint there is not very good in the wet. But yeah, that's definitely worst conditions in a race that I've been in a professional race. Worst environment, I would have to say, was either Atlanta or Laguna for me this year, just because of circumstance. Well, actually, well, if you talk about oil slick being Max Van the oil, we had together. That was at Laguna. Not in like a harsh way, because Max is a great dude, and he came over and checked on me, and it was a racing incident. But no, everywhere else it was Atlanta, just obviously a circumstance with a lot of controversial calls going on, and then just having to leave the track knowing that was my first race that I won, and then have it taken away from you is definitely not a good thing, especially with all the emotion behind it. So that was definitely not a great
Kayla,
great environment. But
I just want to say, you look so upset, and Max Van came over like, my older sister's really mad at me, and I better go and just like, just be like, try to make up to her. That's what it looked like on television.
Yeah. No, and like I said with Laguna as well, it was just a very, very hard weekend for me. And, sorry, my sister's in here now.
Hey, say hello to Dave.
It was a really, really bad experience, and I've always had pretty bad luck at Laguna, but that time was really bad. And to have a moment like that, where it was definitely one of the scariest experiences, obviously riding on top of the bike into the gravel. I mean, it's not the greatest position to be in. But like I said, Max came over. We were all good after that, but then in race 2, having another really bad incident where I just tossed a race because, Joe actually did high side in front of me, and I had nowhere to go. And that's not Joe's fault at all, because we're all pushing and stuff like that. So it was just circumstance, and I happened to be in that spot on the last lap. So that was definitely a difficult position to be in, because after that race, it was really hard on my mental state. And I told Hannah going into Brainerd that, if you listen to any of the interviews, it's just I had to totally reevaluate the way I was looking at races, because of how horrible the season had gone up until that point. Besides, the Ridge, that's really the only round out of the first 5 rounds that went well for me. So, yeah.
It sounds like I hate to say this, but it sounds like it sort of built a resilience in you, that you dealt with the enormous disappointment and said, okay, the season's still going on. I have to come back from this. And that, to me, I mean, as a layperson, it just makes you a better racer. Before we get to, guys, we have another question from Chris Hollingsworth. I want to thank you, Beast Linus, for your question. I appreciate that. If you have another one, feel free to throw it in there. And we're going to get Chris Hollingsworth's question in there, which is, Owen, you may have mentioned this and I wasn't listening close enough. What are your racing plans for next season?
So, I don't think we've announced this at all yet so far. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce everything. I don't think I can, but I will say for sure that I'm going to be doing Super Sport next year. I'm going to be trying to race the 600, and I'm super excited. And so I think we're going to be trying to do the same team as last year, trying to be on the Michael Gilbert team again. I'm not sure the full name of that because we're not sure who it's going to be sponsored by yet. But I'm going to be competing in Super Sport. So thanks, Chris, for the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chris. So that's for 2023.
Yes.
Okay. So this upcoming season.
I kind of assumed that was kind of the route that you were going to go with that, just being on the 600 so much. But that's really cool because I think that'll be a really good class. It's a really good class to build on.
Yeah, I'm super excited because, I mean, we pondered over it for a long time because it was with the new schedule that came out for MotoAmerica, Junior Cup looked a lot less appealing to stay in, you know what I mean? And we didn't have any knowledge or any real people with knowledge on twins. So it's like without a good offer for twins or anything like that, we have a good amount of people with this knowledge for super sport. And I've never ridden a twins bike, and you know what I mean? It would be a lot more of a learning curve to do twins as opposed to doing super sport for us. And with the added rounds, I think super sport got added rounds, right? Or is it just stayed the same? What ones got less?
They got added coda.
Yeah.
That was it, I think. But you have two endurance races during the year besides Daytona. But I think you would only be able to do Laguna.
Yeah. I think you're right. I haven't looked at the schedule in a while, but
which is insane. That having endurance races at not only Daytona but Barber, which is absolutely insane, and then Laguna, which is another completely insane track to have an endurance race in, is really, really unique. Is probably the right word to say. So I think that'll be cool if you're able to do that.
Why don't they just have you have like Alex Rins, Juan Mir, Kayla, and Owen? You guys do the Suzuka, on a leader bike, man. The four of you guys, right? Come on.
That would be sick. I've never ridden 1,000 before.
I've never been on 1,000.
It would take you guys 10 minutes. You guys would be able to learn this bike. No problem. All right. So just to reset, I'm DJ at Call All Beings on Twitter. My show, when I'm not on here, is Calling All Beings. That is, of course, Kayla Yakov, who will be competing in Twins Cup this year. And that is Owen Williams, who we just found out finna compete in Super Sport. Baby, how you like that? Both of them have great hair. If Owen's hair was still grown out, it could be a little bit competitive here in this.
Did you see that? Have you been back that far, DJ? To see the old hair?
What? Yes. Awesome hair, man.
There you go.
Wow. I was like, that could be Kayla's
the luxurious locks. You missed it.
Yes, man. You guys can share some grooming tips. It's great. Owen, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 15. I'm going to be turning 16 in May.
Oh, wow. And Kayla, you're turning 16 when? I got to write this down.
June, yeah.
June what?
24th.
June 24th. Got to make sure I get something for the boss on her birthday. Which
is actually the Ridge weekend.
The Ridge weekend? Oh, man.
Yeah, because when I got my first win at the Ridge, it was my birthday weekend, and in the broadcast, Jason and Greg said birthday weekend at the same time. So I just remember that because the audio was all messed up.
That is awesome. And by the way, I want you guys to be careful. I don't want you guys going around corners there, seeing Bigfoot like at the end of turn 3, and then all of a sudden you're distracted and you high side. So be careful. Anyway, we have a couple of more questions. Well, you know what? Before I get this in, they want to talk about your exercise and meal prep. So we're going to get into B. Salinas and Chris both have questions more for you guys. And if you, I don't know if you guys have comments up on your screen, but I can see them. In any case,
yeah, I can see them too.
Awesome. Okay. I wanted to ask you guys about cars, because you guys are turning 16. Has the subject of what kind of vehicle you're going to be driving halfway through next year, has that come up?
Yeah.
I
forget exactly what it is. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for Kayla to go. Come on, man. I'm the guest. No, yeah, I mean, I have a car at my mom's house it's like an old, I think it's an old Civic, not like an old one. I like those too much. That would be too nice. But like, just a first beater car. I actually just yesterday signed up for my learner's permit, and I'm starting to do that kind of testing right now, so that way when I'm 16 I can just get my license. But yeah, just beater car, drive around Long Beach. It'll be fun.
I love it, man. My mom got me a 70 Beetle as my first car, and it was so dope, man. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's sick.
Oh, you're good. Mom is afraid that I'll drive fast. She really thinks that I'm gonna speed.
What?
So she's kind of determined on getting me a Kia Soul.
She's gonna weigh your car down. It's okay, go over.
I know. No, but I mean, I told her I think my dad's gonna give me his beater Kia hybrid something. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, as long as I get something that can tow a trailer, maybe get like a van. Like, I know that a lot of the kids that are in, MotoAmerica have their own little vans, so maybe I get a van and tow around my bikes or something like that, so it's less stress on Dad. But besides that, I mean, I don't know. I want to get something that's not outrageous, but not a Kia Soul.
Okay, I have a question for you guys that's on, and as you guys can notice, we're talking a limited amount by racing, but I'm so interested to find out about you two that I can hardly get to the racing. So you get your car, come back to Owen, then we'll go back to Kayla, and eventually we'll let Kayla ask you a question. But we got 15 minutes left. But Owen, so you got your car, and It is day one. Now, you've got your license. It is a Saturday afternoon. You're not training that afternoon because you're going to train tomorrow. And so you're going to go for a drive. So where would you want to take your car and go for a ride?
I have one more question for that, though, just to influence my answer. Are you saying training
Sure.
as in motorcycle training? So, like, I'm riding tomorrow, or no? I'm
completely
off.
Is that you're off. You have a free day, and you're like, dude, I got my license. Keys are right here, or the fob. This is the case, and I'm finna go for a ride. Where are you going to go?
I'd probably go to my local business. Gotta support Bartha's Donuts, man. I love that place. I love the ladies in there. They make such good iced coffee. I'll just get iced coffee and a donut. That sounds like so nice, so peaceful.
I love it. Okay, going for donuts. See, what I was thinking was heading down to Laguna Beach, to the public beach. I can't remember what the name of it is, but heading down to, there's a specific one I used to go to in Laguna that I would love. And afterward I can send you where it was, but there's a specific beach. I drive from Laguna Niguel down to PCH, hang a right, and it was up on the left a little ways, and it was public, so you could just park there.
That's sick. Have you ever
Yeah,
been to
love it.
Thousand Steps, or do you know what that is? It's in Laguna Beach too, but
Yes.
my stepmom would take me there sometimes. It's literally exactly what it sounds like. It's just a big stairway that just goes from like the above down to
Yes.
the beach, and we would run up and down and
That's
stuff
like
like
Dana
that for
Point.
exercise. It is. You're right.
It's like Dana Point, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
I've mixed up the names.
Yeah.
I honestly I
Hell
don't
yeah,
go to
I've
the
been
beach a
there.
lot. For a Californian, I don't actually go to the beach a lot. I like swimming. We just don't do it that much. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah.
Yeah, I did quite a I really got into swimming there. I became when COVID happened. I work for the Air Force. That's my day job.
Hmm.
And I wanted to find something I could do at home because I had to stay home. So I started getting in the bay, swimming, and I got this like dual breathing snorkel and mask and flippers and web gloves, and I started swimming like 1 mile, 2 miles, and then I ended up. I'm from the Hudson River Valley in New York,
Hmm.
so I went home and my high school friends took me in a boat across, and I swam back, and I started doing that every summer. So I've really gotten into like swimming now. So
That's sick.
um, yeah, it's pretty low impact compared to my track days. So
Oh yeah.
anyway,
Oh yeah. My trainer Ethan would love that, man. If I could swim every day. Oh yeah.
man, I'll send you some of my kit is. I'll send you some links to some of my kit and see what it just makes it really easy, man, and safe. I have a tow buoy, so if anything happens, I can just snatch my buoy. It has a little bladder in there. I can have some Gatorade and then just keep swimming. So
Nice. That's cool.
yeah. Kayla, so it's day one with the car. Where are you going? Nothing to do but just be
I
Kayla.
mean, I live in kind of a boring place. I mean, you could say Gettysburg isn't boring, but when you live there and you've kind of been to every place that there is, it's kind of boring. Um, I mean, I'd probably take a trip. Like I'd probably just get in the car and drive out to California or something, or somewhere in the Midwest, and go out and cycle or mountain bike and something like that. Just so I can. I mean, I like going to Josh and Melissa's a lot, so maybe I drive out there and get some cycling. I love Oceanside. Just cycling through Oceanside is really cool. But
Beast
yeah,
mode, man. Total beast.
yeah, I'd probably do something like that, just because it's boring here. Or I don't know. I don't know where else I'd go.
That
No,
is
get to like
awesome,
a
man.
friend's house that lives out somewhere else.
Yeah, and like I guess what I mean. I love that answer that you would just like because it means she's not afraid of long distance driving and she's ready to just go on an adventure. But I was thinking like, is there a relaxing place near where you live where you can just like center yourself or whatever? But no, I love those answers. Let's get to the fans' questions here. So Kayla's heard this one before, and it's top secret her training, unless she's ready to break security on this. But go ahead, Owen. Do you have an exercise routine before a big race, or
Uh
that could be like kind of like what's your training regimen?
yeah, I mean, I'll go into like the race thing because it used to not be very refined, and then I've kind of made it more specific as of the last season. And it involved talking to people. Before every race, I have to go talk to either Jason Pridmore or my now trainer Ethan or Michael Gilbert, and I would always either have questions or we would talk about a certain race. And then for my actual physical things that I would do before a race, like like 5-10 minutes to go, or right before I put my suit on, because I put my suit on about like 10 minutes to go. Right
Hmm.
before I put my suit on, it's all
Jeez,
stretching. What? 10
10
minutes to
minutes?
go?
What are you talking about? That's
Too
no
late?
time.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
perfect
well, you're
for
like
me.
you're.
I do all my
Well,
relaxing
I
before I
mean,
put the suit on. I put the suit on, and that's like how I change modes. Okay, that's
I
how I
feel
see it.
like
I don't
you're
like.
okay. If you're doing 10 minutes, I feel like you're like. I mean, for me, I mean, I guess it takes longer for me because I have to wrap my knee and stuff. But if I didn't have to wrap my knee, I could get ready and like. Okay, it depends what. Okay, do you have everything out at that point? Everything's like set out,
Yeah,
and then you're
I
just hopping
mean,
in.
when we were in the trailer, I would go get dressed in the lounge just with my suit and my boots, and then my dad has to help me get my airbag on, and then my helmet and gloves and stuff are outside. So, I I'm just saying,
think
I
10 minutes
relax,
is too little.
I relax, I stretch for relax for like 10 minutes before that 10 minutes. So it's like total about 20 minutes before I go out. But I mean, I'm always there. I'm always at the pit. You know what I mean? I'm spending time either looking at a track map or, yeah, just lots of stretching, because my whole issue with, especially at the beginning of this last MotoAmerica season and my entirety of my first MotoAmerica season is that I would just have cramps at the end of a weekend. It would just be hip flexor. It would be lower back. And it's like interesting places that like a person who doesn't stretch often might actually have an issue stretching, like me. I didn't stretch that as much as I nearly should have. So yeah, I do lots of stretching, specific ones, and just hydrating, eating banana. I don't like to eat a lot before I go out. I normally eat my lunch either after, if lunchtime's too near, or just way before. But yeah, that would say that's my regimen before a big race.
Okay, and I think what you might be talking about, I got to reformat this question. What is your exercise routine? What is your training regimen that you would be willing to divulge?
The one thing that I like to stay away from a little bit is running, because as much as it is convenient, I don't like the high impact. My body doesn't do it very well, especially my knees. I've been having, like, I guess what I can only describe as like growing pains recently. It's like right behind my kneecap almost. It's like, right at the end of that. What? Are you gonna make a joke about how I'm not growing? I'm still short, whatever. Anyways, I don't like the high impact.
The dynamic between you two is great, man.
Well, yeah, because she's making fun of her. She's making fun of me behind.
I just think it's funny that he's having growing pains.
No, it's annoying. It's like I can't when I wanna like skateboard or something. I wanna like practice ollies in my backyard, and I can't jump. Like it's a pain right behind my kneecap. Anyways. I try to stay away from running. I have a rowing machine in my mom's house that I use sometimes. I don't know. I do way more calisthenics than I do weight stuff. So I don't do a lot of weight training.
Great.
I feel comfortable enough with my like actual physical strength. I don't get tired anymore after a 600 race. A big thing with my training is like, I've had to balance it a couple times. Like if I noticed that I was using my upper body too much on the bike, I would try to focus more on just distributing that to the lower. So like I like to, I just like to do things with my legs, because that's what you need for a motorcycle, pushing on the pegs that much. And yeah, I do a lot of calisthenics. I can't really go into my full program because it's not a set thing that I do the same every week. It changes all the time. But I work with Ethan at Southern Pride Performance. Loved working with them for these last couple months. I just started at the end of this last MotoAmerica season because I'd already been talking with him and using him for information and stuff like that. We've been friends for a little while. Met him through Michael Gilbert, and yeah, ever since then I've been wanting to work with him. And just having the extra mobility that I get with his program, he focuses a lot, especially with motorcycle. As a motorcycle racer, he focuses a lot on mobility, hand-eye coordination, which we do practices and stuff like that, just using tennis balls or things like that. And then, he has a system, you know what I mean? He just kind of plugs it in for his riders. Super convenient and great. Just shout out to him, I guess. But yeah, no, I love it. I've never felt more, I guess the strong isn't the word that I would use for this. I guess just comfortable.
Fit.
Yeah, comfortable. Yeah.
Fit. Yeah, I'll answer that. For me, if I were a racer, I'd look at whatever the hell Mark and Alex Marquez are doing, and I would just do that. So, because those guys look so damn fit, it's ridiculous, right?
Oh yeah.
And Alicia Spargaro. Kayla, so question for you. Then we're going to go to Chris's question, and then we're going to close it out with just your thoughts on latest MotoAmerica, MotoGP stuff, and then we'll close it out from there. So go ahead, Kayla. Your exercise routine, meal stuff. What's happening?
Yeah. The meal stuff I've been getting better at. I mean, I've never been the biggest person to go out and eat the healthiest food, I should say. But I think recently it's been a little bit better, and I've been able to build upon a few things, and kind of limit the way I'm eating bad, but I think a lot of it, I mean, if you're working hard, I mean, it kind of weighs.
Yeah.
I don't know, no, but
Count.
it's it's been good. I think for me recently, I've really fell in love with cycling. I like going out, especially when I went out to Josh and Melissa's for 2 weeks, and we cycled pretty much every day, and it was really good, and I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even the days that I felt like throwing up, or even did throw up, I mean, I was really enjoying it. And I actually blame the throwing up on Chipotle because I ate my Chipotle 20 minutes before we went out and rode. So, yeah.
That I don't know if you love the same thing about Kayla that I do, but it's just that she's so forthright and honest, and she's just going to tell you, Owen. She's going to say it, man. She's not going to apologize for it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it, man.
No, he knows that. He knows that too well. He knows that too well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm sure he does. Okay, Kayla, what is it that makes you so good in the rain, and what's your favorite flavor of Capri Sun? Shout out to Dave and Lucy for their efforts behind the scenes. Okay, what makes you so good in the rain, Kayla?
I will say Lucy just popped in and had me open a Gatorade for her, so that's what I was just
Hi,
doing.
Lucy.
But yeah, but I think I'm not really sure exactly why I'm so good in the rain. I think there have definitely been points where I could see have definitely helped me. I kind of think back to my first time ever in the rain, which was when I was probably 10 maybe, at the Heron compound in Dublin, Georgia, when they were running that thing pretty heavily. And I went out with Josh Heron. I believe Blake Davis was there. And at the time, it was the whole basically Heron compound squad. It was Ashton Yates, Blake, Super Lex at the time. Obviously, like I said, Josh. I don't remember too many others, but we stayed an extra day after the weekend, and it was my first time ever riding in the rain. And I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And I've always been kind of quick to adapt to the conditions. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like a lot of it is comfort, just feeling a really good connection with the motorcycle. But I mean, it can be a couple of different things. I'm just not exactly sure yet.
I don't think it's something that you can
Next,
feel. You know, if I asked you to say, what is a feeling? You can't tell me what a feeling is, right? You
yeah,
can't
I think
explain.
it's so hard to, especially when someone asks me, what does it feel like to race a motorcycle, or even what does it feel like to win a race? You can't really describe your feeling. You could say, I'm happy when I'm on the bike, or I feel free when I'm on the bike, but nothing can really express it to you other than being on a motorcycle. So,
You know, somebody who's won
following
in another
question was
sport.
the Capri Sun.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah, I'm
keep
sorry,
going.
Capri Sun. Yeah, no, go ahead.
You
Do
can
you have a
Oh,
favorite
okay.
flavor of Capri Sun?
That's a tough one. Um, and see, okay, it changed pretty much every round. We had a lot of the time it was all up to Crazy Chris, our great friend Crazy Chris from MotoAmerica. Chris Helmsworth, I believe, is his name.
That's him.
I feel like that's I
Him,
believe
Chris
so.
Hollingsworth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Helmsworth. I said Helmsworth. That's like the actor Thor.
The actor,
Hemsworth.
yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Capri Sun. We switched it up every round. We had a Kool-Aids, and then we had Capri Suns. Kool-Aids was always the fruit punch, the blue one. The fruit punch is the way to go for that Capri Sun, 100 or for that Kool-Aid. For Capri Sun, it was either their fruit flavor was okay, or their tropical, I believe is what it's called, or or just like the cherry one. Those were both really good. So probably those two.
Kool-Aid brings back memories of when I was a kid. So Owen, let's go to you. What's happening? Well, first of all, I want to ask both you guys. I don't know if you saw the reveal of Fabio and Franco Morbidelli's bikes the other. What's up, man? Oh, HJC. That's right. He saw. Yeah, both of you.
HJC.
And Fabio signed with HGC, and so are you guys. So congratulations to all of you. It's just bringing the three of you closer together. The two of you and Quartararo. When they revealed that bike, were you like me and said, "And here is the new M1"? And I'm looking at him going, "It looks exactly the same." Did you guys think that?
It looks pretty similar.
They always do like here's our brand new, especially with HRC. They'll always say, "Here's our brand new whatever it is, Honda RC blah blah blah," and it looks exactly the same from the year before. But I think at least Yamaha had like a slightly different design with like the glitch kind of graphic, and I liked it actually a lot on the suits. I think the suits looked really good in the backs of the motorcycles,
yeah.
But it's really not that much different. I think just
Yeah, dude. Whatever it was, I could not tell. I thought I saw the same livery, and then they said that what we were looking at was the 2022 bike. Didn't show you the 23 bike because they don't want everybody to see what the aero is that they're planning and all that. What else? Did you? What do you think are the prospects for the Yamaha M1 team this year, Owen? Do you have high hopes that they're going to be able to produce some power for Fabio, or do you think he's going to be sitting in fifth place there, getting blown away on the straightaways?
Well, a lot of my information, I haven't been keeping super up onto the MotoGP stuff, I'll be completely honest, but the couple races that I have watched, I mean, Fabio looks good, man. Like, I do think that they'll get some really good momentum going this season. Again, I'm not super glued to it like Pridmore is because he bets on it. I don't, but yeah, I'm really excited. I hope to watch more MotoGP this season. I'm always excited for that stuff. Yeah, Rossi was always my hero just as a little kid. I'll be completely honest. I was such a little kid and my dad liked him. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to like him. But, I love watching all those racers. I love their personalities. It's so much fun to watch, man. World Superbike 2 and then Moto 3. Those are like my three that I just love watching whenever I get the chance to. I love that kind of racing. Yeah, I can't really give a good educated opinion. I'll be honest because I didn't watch all of last season and everything. Roughed
up, man.
Pecco won the championship though, right?
Yeah, Pecco won the championship.
Yeah.
Fabio did well in the first. First 6 races. He did really well, and then when the tracks changed, the different circuits, he just didn't have enough power on the straightaway. I mean, can it be put any more simple than that, Kayla? What was happening with Fabio?
I think a lot of what it was is you have people developing bikes, and it's working for a lot of people where they were developing bikes and kind of going backwards. So it was a really difficult dynamic, and then on top of that, with the power, he's riding over his limit basically to keep up with everyone else. Not to say that they're always riding over their limit, but he's riding past. I think he was definitely one of the best riders last year.
No doubt.
Same with Marcus, like riding on a bike that it's realistically their fifth place bikes, and they're bringing them to wins and podiums. So it's stuff like that. But I think talking about the Yamaha topic, I think they like to talk a lot about how they're making these improvements, and they talked a lot about it last year, and it didn't really go anywhere. And obviously, I love Yamaha. I'm Yamaha all the way. I want them to win the championship again. And same with Toprak. I want Toprak to win the championship again. But they were specifically in World Superbike. You're competing with a bike that is far faster than anything else. But you're in MotoGP. You're dealing with people who are able to make these steps forward instead of backwards, not really making too many mistakes when it comes to the development of the bike. So hopefully they got everything figured out, because I think once we get to, I believe Sepang is the test this year. Once we get to Sepang, we'll be able to see kind of where the bike stands.
I want to give you guys a name that I listened to the race podcast, a couple of episodes with a motorcycle engineer named Tom. It looks like it's Jojic. He sounds Canadian, a little bit of Canadian British, but he was on. He worked for Yamaha. He worked under Kenny Roberts Jr., Kenny Roberts Sr., and the stuff that he talked about Grand Prix motorcycle racing and the engineer, I would have never even thought of in my life. He talked about the firing order. He said, well, we figured out that if we have, we have a 4-cylinder motorcycle and they're all firing at the top dead center, and so you have two and then you have two, but what if we just change the firing order so it would fire 90 degrees off? It would give the wheel a chance to stop spinning, so the power wouldn't be as linear, but it would help the wheel to gain traction in between the firings if we separated them. So of course, as soon as they start the motorcycle up, everyone's like, oh wow, they changed the firing order on that, and then it resulted in better traction from the rear wheel, of course, without pre-traction control. I learned so much about it. They talked about how Yamaha was the manufacturer that had the crankshaft spinning backwards while the wheels were spinning forwards. So you have two gyros spinning forwards while the crankshaft spinning backwards opposing, which would give you more rear wheel grip. They said, yeah, you can just take your motorcycle, put it on a stand, rev it, you'll see it go forward. He goes, well, the Yamaha, the crankshaft is spinning backward. So I learned all kinds of stuff on that podcast from 3 or 4 episodes of that guy talking about the Honda V5 when they came up with that, the 990. Said it was like one of the best bikes ever in the competition. So if you guys are really bored and you want to hear about some of the engineering, it's done in a really digestible way for those of us that aren't motorcycle engineers. So anyway, there's
it's really cool to hear about how those things work, especially when you're dealing with full-on bikes that are prototype bikes that you obviously can't buy. And it's basically like Formula One. You have these crazy engineers coming in, making all of these new innovations to these things and making them faster. Being able to make them faster every year is kind of crazy to think that there's not really a limit. You just keep going. And that's something I think about often is how long will it be until we get to a limit in these bikes. So
the tires.
Yeah, the
tires are the limit.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. I mean, and even from like a mechanical side, outside of the engine and all of the electronics and things like that. I mean, you could probably put electronics in this, but how to set up a bike, I don't know if those kind of podcasts talk about how they set up these bikes. But even on like a 400, I talked to Stoney Landers a lot, and we're talking about setting up this bike. And I was introduced to a lot of different ideas that I had never even thought of before, especially for a 400. And, obviously now getting into the bigger bikes, that's helped me because I kind of understand what not only the bikes need for that, but also what I need from the bike. So that's another thing that hopefully those kind of podcasts talk about.
The race MotoGP podcast. It has an orange logo. Looks like this on my phone here. I'll see if there you go. You can kind of see it. The race. I learned more because they had this one guy Tom on for 3 or 4 episodes talking about you're gonna go inside the paddock, inside the garage, and hear stuff that not only from the manufacturers you work for, but other stuff that was happening. And what people came up with in innovations, and Honda absolutely blowing people away with this V5 that had 3 cylinders in the front and 2 in the rear as a V5. That's like insane thinking, right? All these different things. So I learned more on 3 or 4 of those episodes about how these bikes are engineered than I have in my entire life before that. So I'll put it to that way. Have a look. Thank you so much for joining us, Owen. I hope you're welcome to come on and co-host with us because you're such a damn good talker.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I might take you up on that. That sounds like a ton of fun. I'd love to come back.
Look, you guys, like I told Kayla, you guys are the ones who will bring guests in here. It won't be me. So anybody that it won't be me. I mean, in the UFO, I tell Kayla, in the UFO world, in the Bigfoot world, I can get almost anybody. In the paranormal world, but in motorcycle, I can't get anybody. That's you guys. So if you want to get a guest that you want to talk to, bring them on, and you're welcome to come on with us, and we'll interview them, either you or Kayla. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's her show. She's the boss, but I'm sure she'll okay it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be if I allow Owen to come back.
Oh yeah. Of course it is.
No, but it's always good to having people on, especially people like Owen. Like you said, sorry if I'm scooping all this sand that Lucy had off the table. It's always good to have people, especially when you have someone like Owen who talks really well. It's very, very good at speaking, and that's something that was cool because we did a new rider interview at Brainerd in 2021, and probably some of the worst pictures ever came from that interview because we both
the one
absolutely
with Hannah.
horrible. Yeah, the one with Hannah. Really, absolutely horrible. But it was it was really cool because Hannah's like, after we both finished, she was like, I've never talked to two people who could speak that well ever. So like, she was like, my superbike riders can't even speak that well. So it was it's always good having people like that to where you can have a really good conversation in depth and be able to talk to someone for an hour and 11 minutes.
I have no doubt you guys could jump in the commentary box tomorrow. You guys could have done this podcast without me if you would have had a guest. I have 100% confidence in that. So I'd love to speak with you guys again.
We're taking Greg and Jason's jobs. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. I'll be Jason, you be Greg. It's great.
I'm told.
Can we switch?
No.
Can we switch?
I'm not taking Egg White. I'm sorry. Egg White is yours.
I told her I really want to interview GW, man. So I want to get him on the show. I think he'd be a blast. I really do.
See, the whole time he'd be on here, he'd just be complaining about how I play Power Wash Simulator on my Xbox.
I love that game.
That's all it would be.
I love Power Wash Simulator.
He gets mad at me because we were watching. He joined my freaking Xbox party at like 2 a.m. one day. We were watching MotoGP. Where was it? It was actually in Sepang. We were watching MotoGP qualifying or free practice one night, and he was like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Power Wash Ultimate Simulator." And then he looked up the trailer. He was like, "Why is there he was like a tumbleweed, and you had to spray the tumbleweed." He was just making fun of me. I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. It's Power Wash Simulator. It's a good way to. At least I'm not playing something I'm focusing on."
What he said on his show was that he said something to you and you clapped back on him for something. I don't remember what it was, but I heard him say that on his show. I don't remember what he said to you.
That's happened a fair amount of times with Greg. That's happened a fair amount of times. So
should we expect to see him on this show or no?
I can talk to him. I'm heading out. I'm heading out to California for a good bit of time. So while I'm out there, maybe we do a podcast or something, or I try to convince him to get on, and he'd probably just try to make fun of me the entire time. But
Kayla, I think the reason he tries to make fun of you so much is because you're the only person in the paddock whose forehead rivals his, and I think that he's jealous a little bit that someone so young could have such a large.
He's also jealous that my helmet is whiter and has more.
That is the color of his scalp. Yeah, it's like
has more specs on its head. So, I mean,
he should do that. He should get sponsors and put stickers on his head like a race helmet. That would be amazing.
I know.
You can make some money off of that.
Oh yeah. My God. If he comes on this show, I hope he knows that you guys are definitely his equal when it comes to cutting people down. So I think he ought to be prepared for that verbal. I do have, I hate to do this, but there's one more question. We want to get the fans in here. And this is from 675 Dreamer. Kayla, I know it's early in your career, but what are your aspirations for the future? We know you can compete on the world stage. Might we see you in a bigger series, Moto3, Moto2, STK 600?
I would see, for me, I would not go to Moto 3. That's definitely out of the question now. I'd rather stay on a sport bike, stay in classes like MotoAmerica or, ESBK or World Superbike, try to stay in those paddocks. And then once I get to a level in Superbike, if I eventually get there, hopefully, if I have an opportunity come to me where someone asks me to ride in MotoGP or something like that, I'd probably take it after I've achieved what I wanted to achieve in those classes. But I think my near future would be to probably move up through MotoAmerica, and go that way, kind of do what Garrett Gerloff did, go to MotoAmerica's Superbike, go over to World Superbike, or to get over there earlier in the next few years maybe. But it all depends on, obviously progression and how I'm feeling about everything.
Owen, same question. Can't leave you out of that, brother.
We don't have very long-term plans in place yet. You know what I mean? It's more of a kind of see how it goes kind of thing. But a lot of it depends on how I feel about this 600 season. You know what I mean? How it goes. You know what I mean? Do we want to do it again? What do we want to do in the future? We don't have a lot set in place, like I said, for the long term, but for sure want to do more MotoAmerica stuff. And if MotoAmerica goes well, maybe even try super bikes at some point, or stock 1,000. Who knows? But in the short term, for sure want to do maybe 1 or 2 seasons of super sport before I think about making my dad spend any more money. But
you're worth it. You're a great kid. You've got awesome attitude. I think everybody would love to have a son like you. So, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that, but I just wanted.
No, it's great. I really appreciate it, man. I mean, it's my first time meeting you. It was a little bit short notice, but I'm super appreciative to be on here. It's my first podcast that I've ever done. Maybe I did one when I was like 10 or something, but that one doesn't count. It's
Kayla always gives me short notice.
Yeah,
it was great to have you.
That's
Kayla's like,
I can't.
3 hours.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like I can't. Well, the thing is, it's not really. It's hard to say, but it's not really my fault. We didn't know we're leaving for Jennings this weekend, and the times keep changing. My dad's like, "Well, it's gonna rain. I have to do I'm doing a media thing on Monday, down at Jennings, but we're like, it might rain on Sunday, possibly on Saturday, so we don't know if we're gonna leave tomorrow or if we're gonna leave today. So it was kind of like it was really up in the air." But on top of that, it's like my schoolwork is just, it's a lot. But I am sorry to both of you because that was bad. I kind of came to Owen because I had talked to a few other kids about doing it, and they were like, "Well, I actually have to go ride," and then I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I can't do that." So, I mean, I appreciate you coming on, Owen. Especially, I was like trying to figure out. Because we usually do it around 7 here, and I was like, well, that's like right after his school day, so I can't really do that. But yeah, it works out good.
So proud of you guys, kicking ass in school and then going and training and watching your diet and then going and training at the racetrack as well. So you guys are awesome, and it's an honor to be able to come on here and speak with you. So we will see you down the road. For sure. Again, Owen, if the boss, authorizes it, and and I want to thank you guys all for tuning. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and asking those questions, Chris, Beast Linus, and 675 Dreamer, and we will see you next time on Full Throttle Moto. For Owen Williams, for Kayla Yakoff, this is DJ saying peace out, one love. We'll see you down the road. We always wondering what's up around the bend.
Thanks, guys. See ya.